The technology of the book, organizing a web-based case study. A print-based academic essay can be described as a linear form. In school, we are taught to develop thesis statements that represent the main idea of our paper, and then to develop and support our thesis statements paragraph by paragraph. Each paragraph is a mini essay in itself with a topic sentence followed by supporting detail. The paragraphs are designed to build one upon the next, with clear transitions linking paragraphs in a logical chain of ideas. A web text, on the other hand, can be nonlinear. Think of the word web itself. It suggests a complex interlocking structure as opposed to a linear progression. Readers on a website are encouraged to follow multiple pathways through a text. Links may lead them down a different path than the author imagined. While we still use the term page to describe web documents, a page on a website is more fluid than a printed page. Web pages may not really be pages at all. They are often more like assemblages of different types of content than they are like a page in the conventional sense. Our use of the term page is itself a holdover from print culture, evidence of what we call remediation, when new media forms reflect the conventions of the old. So as writers, how do we adapt to this new medium? What are some processes we can use to plan and organize our content when our content will be delivered on the web instead of in traditional print essay form? First, let's make note of the tools and processes that don't change, the methods of research and inquiry. We still need to define a research question and related sub-questions. We still need to consider different pathways and search strategies to find sources that will help to answer our questions. And we still have to organize our thoughts and present them in some way that makes sense for readers. The inquiry model and the long zoom perspective work, regardless of the medium of delivery and the form our projects will take. For me, the biggest change is in terms of how I organize a project when I'm writing for the web. First, I tend to think in terms of spatial organization as opposed to linear. Instead of an introduction, for example, it can be useful to think of a home page, the first thing a reader encounters. Here, we can outline our research questions, provide a little context, and then guide readers to the parts of our study that will explore and propose answers. Each section of the case study that would have been a body paragraph now becomes an independent section. We can't assume that our readers will read in the same order, and in fact, we want them to have some choice. Do they want to dive into the details first or jump to our conclusions? A web-based text can make both reader pathways useful. So instead of a linear outline, I usually imagine something like a mini sitemap. In this case, I'm writing a case study about one of the first fully online academic journals in the field of rhetoric and writing, a web-based publication called Kairos, K-A-I-R-O-S. It's a Greek word that means timeliness or currency or exigency. So my primary research question is this: how does the internet transform academic journal publishing? My sub-questions are, what are some examples of academic journals published online? How and when did these get started? Which have been successful? How are online journals designed and organized? And my organization is to break it into these three sections. Section 1, background and history of digital publishing in the academy. Section 2, Kairos, examples and discussion of its history and evolution. And Section 3, lessons for academic authors today, strategies for academic authors working online. And then finally a section on conclusion, which is some reflections on what has changed. So that's how I have used the sitemap model to begin to think about the structure of my paper. It's not radically different from what you might do in print, but one of the important differences is that as I move into drafting, one key difference between writing the sections here in this model as opposed to a print essay is that I can't assume that readers will experience these in 1, 2, 3 order. They may go 3, 1, 2 or 3, 2, 1 or 3 conclusion, 1, 2. So each section needs to be written to stand on its own. That's the primary difference that happens when it comes to drafting. I will develop each of these 5 chunks as an independent unit. So the homepage provides an overview, and then each section is written as a sort of mini modular essay unto itself. And then same thing with the conclusion. I want to make it possible for people to jump to the conclusion and for that to make sense. So I'm writing these 5 sections, assuming that readers may encounter them in any particular order. They're usually, it's a safe assumption to guess that they're going to see the homepage first, but from there they may choose any one of a number of different pathways. So I have to write each section so that it works that way and can stand on its own. So that's how the outline helps me to understand what I need to do as I move into drafting. So I'll share the final product, my finished case study, and another video to show how I built that case study in Google Sites in a follow-up video. Thanks for listening.